Bridget Hom. Yeah. I'm like mom.
Teammates, we are back once again. If this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly podcast, welcome to the number one show on innovative teamwork. Great to have you. Looking forward to having you back for more. Thank whoever brought you here. And shout out again, I do have to shout out podmatch.com for hooking me up with some of the most incredible people. I can't say enough about this organization that has revived the guest element to this show. You guys know for a long time there I was doing a lot of solo episodes, but when I discovered Podmatch, it brought in a brand new energy. So shout out to you, Alex. We still got to connect. I know you're out here in Florida. A lot of people have been telling me, we got to collaborate for sure. And I say all that to say, regular listeners, here we go again. You guys know what to expect when you hit that play button. Whether it's just myself or a guest, there's going to be somebody here just getting you through the moment, getting you through the day, here as a teammate, here as somebody that is going to push you in a way that you can go more. Miss Bridget Hom, the mother of three boys. All right, you heard me correctly. Three boys, running her own business, staying in shape, all of the excuses that I've heard personally from a lot of the mothers out here as to why certain things aren't getting done. We are going to debunk all of that shit right now in today's episode. So make sure you tune in. Bridget, welcome to the show. How are you?
As one, I am fabulous now that I'm here with you.
Yeah.
So I love that intro too. It got me revved up. I feel like I'm ready to go on the court or on the field right now.
Yes. Like I said, I've been doing this for a while. I've learned the skill of podcasting, and there's so much I have. I mean, if you look at the world now, when it comes to the way podcasting works and the way people are leveraging it for opportunities, whether it's jobs, whether it's speaking gigs, whether it's conferences, I'm just so happy that during that pandemic, during 2020, and we're going to get into your story in a second, but during that time, I was going to Toastmasters to develop as a public speaker. And I'm so happy I made the investment in that. And I specifically bring up that time because that was actually when you made the shift in your life. A lot of people during that COVID time and that pandemic, we had a lot of decisions to make. And I was actually on your LinkedIn, and you were talking a little bit about how you had three boys to raise and in virtual school, and now you're in this situation. So kind of walk us through a little bit, I guess, your background. But when you got to that point and you're at that crossroads, now it's like, hey, it's either sink or swim. The true entrepreneur comes out. So the microphone is yours. The microphone is yours.
Well, speaking of leveraging is all about creating opportunities out of obstacles. And for many of us, I mean, 2020 was a year filled with obstacles. And for many of us, it felt overwhelming.
Right.
And I don't know about you. I mean, having three boys, there was no time for analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
But backing up, how did I get to this point here with what I'm doing as a full-time entrepreneur? Well, I was on my way to getting Zoom divorced, and I moved out of my big, beautiful home.
Oh no.
In 2020. Oh yeah.
I didn't even. Yeah. See, I'm listeners. I'm like you, man. This is stuff I didn't even know. I didn't research. Wow. Okay. I didn't even realize.
It gets more fun.
You're going through a divorce during this time, so there's no help. Well, there's help, but still, it's a difficult time for you at that point.
Yeah. I moved into an apartment with my three boys who were under 9 years old.
Oh my
and
God.
Then it gets even more exciting. My job in the seniors industry disappeared due to the new safety regulations. And so literally with the new, my job is gone. Therefore my income is gone, and virtual school happened. So that's taking my time to take care of my three boys. And then on top of it, I have no income coming in. So now I'm literally sitting in my apartment. I'm with my three boys. They're doing weird things like wearing 10 pairs of socks, and like we're making new recipes. I mean, everyone at that time is like, I'm going to take up healthy cooking, right? Or people, the alcohol sales went up as well. So people were either drinking and, starting to self-sabotage, or they were starting to get into the space where they asked themselves the question, what is next? What am I going to do? Am I going to sink or swim? And so Bridge to Freedom coaching was just a side hustle at the time. I had a total of 3 clients. And I got a random Zoom business networking link. Did you know what a Zoom link was in 2020?
I used Zoom 0 times at all. I did not use Zoom at all before 2020. I will confess that right there. I would not know how to. In fact, it was actually live on this show where I had a previous guest and we were doing a Zoom conversation, and it was when like the thing comes up where, all right, if you go any longer, you're gonna have to do the paid version.
Okay,
Now,
yeah.
this particular guest I knew was gonna talk for a while. I'm like, all right, you know what? Let me just pay for it now. And that's actually how I ended up getting the membership. It was live on this show. I thought it was free for the longest time. I didn't realize it was like a yearly subscription. So you're right. Yeah, Zoom was really foreign to me and kind of intimidating at the same time. So
That's hysterical. I think I picked up a Zoom account that week because I got a random Zoom like business networking link, and it was for this meeting of these people I had never met. I
mm,
never even heard of this group. I showed up on a Thursday morning at 8 a.m. and this gentleman, Brian, goes, Bridget, home, give your 30 seconds. And I'm thinking, dang it, he mispronounced my last name. What am I
mm,
supposed to say here to these people?
mhm.
And honestly, what came out, it had to be divine inspiration because I just said, Bridget, I'm your Bridge to Freedom coaching. Are you ready to level up?
Just off the
And
cuff.
I had six
Just off
off
the
the cuff. Like it just came out of me. Honestly, I turned around. I'm like, who said that? Where is that woman? What just came out of me?
Oh my God.
And I had six clients within 6 weeks.
Huh.
And my programs were born. My group coaching experience, group sales trainings for companies, motivational speaking, my best-selling book, Stuck on Ready. And
Yeah.
I've had the opportunity to serve hundreds and influence thousands and get to a six-figure plus income
Yes.
since then during the hours of 8 a.m. to 3 p.m.,
Right. So
which I think is an important fact.
there's a lot of avenues and things I want to make sure we point out to the listeners with your story, because when a lot of people, and you can speak to this as well, when a lot of people get in business,
Mm,
they are so concerned with giving people what they think they want. They're so concerned with making
mm,
logos fancy. They have a great website and all the other trimmings that
mhm.
are easy for you to do. But you were, again, you're in a situation, I can only imagine. I teach now with a group of the boys that you probably were raised their age. So I can only imagine being in an apartment, a small apartment with three of them running around. So we won't even bring back those memories for you right now. But you know,
Post-traumatic stress.
yeah, it might just take you a different place. I want to kind of point out to the listeners that you, first of all, it came out of your heart. It came from just, hey, what are you about? And then when you develop those
Absolutely.
six clients, it was about what the clients wanted. Would you say that that's what
Yes.
birthed your programs? Would you say that's what kind of birthed your books and all the success you've had, is because you focused on what's going to be the need of the client versus, hey, I have this idea and I want to just give it to somebody, as opposed to, doing what you do. So kind of talk to that a little bit.
Absolutely. And that was so well said because all I learned to do, and I put this in my book because the successful stuck on ready entrepreneur mindset is problem aware and solution seeking.
Mm-hmm.
So my number one goal was to ask people the right questions to help them be problem aware and solution seeking.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they presented a problem that I had a solution for, I said, I could absolutely help you with that. And so
Right.
that's what simplified the whole process. And I was always speaking to, like I said, marketing is SEO for your client's mind.
Mm.
It's not about my expectations of what I think you want, because
Mm-hmm.
that's the wrong mental team, right?
Right.
I don't know what you want unless I ask you the question. So
Right.
I anticipate showing up well and authentically and
Mm-hmm.
asking you the questions so that you can arrive at, I want more and better for me.
Now, what sort of challenges do you get when you go about doing it this type of way? Because I know exactly what you're saying, but the issue with a lot of people is, first of all, it's hard to know that coaches like you exist. And when they do find you, it's kind of a habit. It becomes so ingrained in their system to do things their way, and not maybe take the hard coaching and things like that. So kind of speak a little bit to the way you navigate some of the challenges that come in the industry.
Well, first off, always stay adaptable.
Mm,
In the world of entrepreneurship, you are adaptable, and that's a very positive word.
right.
Number two, I always say if you focus and simplify your approach to number one, being always show up well and authentically.
Right.
Number two, just seek to empower the person in front of you no matter what. And empower means to give someone the authority or power to do something or
Mm-hmm.
be something.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you start to get out of this expectation of, I need to have the right website, I need to have the perfect social, I need to be posting 7 times a week, I need to be going live, I need to be doing all these things,
Mhm.
it takes away from the authentic approach of just having a conversation with someone,
Right.
creating an experience with someone, and it's never the same. Any conversation that ever happens with you and me or somebody else, it's never the same. And so
Mm.
that's what actually keeps you motivated as an entrepreneur and
Right.
excited,
Mm.
and with the goal in mind of creating an experience with somebody in front of you.
Right. So when you're talking about that, can you give some a couple examples of how you were able to do that when you were starting off? Because I was actually before we started recording, I was watching
Yeah.
you were at a keynote and something you could tell because I've been there as well, but the projector
Yeah.
didn't work. The technology wasn't there. The people were eating. They had to command that room, and you did a great job because again, I've been in rooms like that where the whole projector blew out. In fact, I was in where was I? Coral Reef in Miami because I did workshops for kids, and the whole projector just
Yeah,
had to get it to work. And
yeah.
again, you have to be the show, you have to be the person, and you have to own that. So, talk a little bit about that too.
90% of our communication is nonverbal.
Yeah.
I heard this phenomenal speaker. He wrote the book Amplify Your Influence, and he says that if someone's eating in the room where I'm speaking at, I tell everyone immediately to put down their forks.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I
Put
learned
down
that. So I learned that you got to command the room. If you got, actually, there was one speaking gig I did where the AD, he made it slight introduction, but there, a lot of these people are afraid to public. And this is just some advice for the up and coming public speakers, people that want to get
Mhm.
the people bringing you in are not public speakers, so they're not going to give you some grand introduction. It's not going to. Sometimes
No,
you got
no.
to just own the room. I remember doing one, and the AD was like, "All right, I'll just say what's up, but you're gonna be the one to speak, right? Because you got to grab them now." So I know that feeling for sure.
Well, and the first thing I always do is, first off, you want to make people laugh. You want to create some relatability. And I always say the three things that you always sell people, whether it's an audience or
Mhm.
a prospect, is your authority, your credibility, and your relatability.
Yeah,
And the first one you put forward is relatability,
yeah,
because
yeah.
they're human just like you. And they don't
Right,
want to see you stuffy and trapped in the business in the box mentality. They want to feel alive. And it's
right.
your job to give them that energy.
Right. Yeah. You got to feel the room. It's important that you feel the room because they're there,
Mhm.
that audience is there. And if you're not feeling the room, you will lose them. And this carries over into so many other facets of your life. So, I
Mhm.
do want to kind of want you to speak because I didn't even realize that there was a point where you were raising these boys while going through a divorce and all that. As your business
Uh,
is growing and building and you're
mhm.
navigating your family life, can you talk about
Mhm.
how the two were able to be relatable, as you said, and how you saw one improving than the next, and how were you managing that kind of that puzzle?
So anyone who's ever met me,
Hmm.
and even actually, I set up this
This is
automation
West
on
Palm Beach,
LinkedIn.
by the way, guys. We have to link up for sure. West Palm Beach for sure.
Right. I love West Palm.
Yeah.
But
Thank you for
one of
saying
the
that. I'm around too many. Some people are too negative about the city, so thank you for saying that.
I love West Palm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I salsa danced there
Yeah.
for a long time.
Yes.
Adore it.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a good. It's my people. But what I would say to that was very very early on realized that if I were going to honor my roles and my goals,
Mhm.
then I had to have set hours of operation. So if you're a parent who's working, and if you're married right now, there's always going to be one parent who you always have to be communicating effectively, who's going to pick up the slack this day, right? But for me as a single mom, I said no matter what, my hours are 8 to 2 at that time. They've changed to 8 to 3 now, but
Hours
8 to 2.
for your business for you that you're working on your business from
Oh
eight.
yeah,
Right. Okay.
that was yeah, that was
Mhm.
for clients, prospects, prospecting,
Mhm.
networking, and content creation.
Mhm.
Um, that was during those hours of operation. Nothing else happened during that time.
Mhm.
And so being really intentional about that gave me the ability to focus in, not being, living under the influence of the distractions of the laundry that's always there. It's a never ending pile. I think it like replicates itself sitting there,
Mhm.
especially socks.
Right.
Uh, but it was literally having those hours of operation and saying, this is what I'm going to do during this time. And I'm going to make sure that my tasks align with dollar signs.
Mhm.
Because many entrepreneurs, as you probably see too,
Right.
they get
I'm
all
actually
amped up
guilty. I'm
about the
actually guilty of.
visibility.
Yeah, I'm guilty of what you're saying too. So you're actually speaking, speaking to me on certain things too. Mhm.
But we want that
Yeah,
intentionality. We
it's
want that
right.
because if we've got one foot in our headspace in all the other things that we got to do at home and one foot in a business growth, people are going to feel it. We're not
Right.
going to be as effective. We're not going
Exactly.
to enjoy the conversations that we get to do because business and people are synonymous.
Exactly.
So
Now,
that's one thing that I said, and I followed that list.
yeah, and the thing is, I want to sort of talk a little bit about the results that you may have seen because I teach and I've been
Mhm.
around a lot of families, Bridget, a lot of situations to the point where I don't even like asking parents about the situations when you see one drop one off and all that kind of stuff. I pay so much attention to the kid that when they're going through something at home, you can see it in their behavior. You can see it in the fact that they're kind of being rebellious. Did you think that
Mhm.
now it was inevitable, obviously, with your boys? Did you think that you were able to manage that process, like the way they were probably processing what was going on at home and were they misbehaving? Were the teachers now contacting you? Walk us through a little bit about how you
Mhm.
were able to navigate that. And I do love that point in terms of making sure that those hours were revenue generating activities. So that way you were able to show up because we've been in situations as a teacher where parents weren't there during certain times because I mean there was one where I'm in Palm Beach and the mother was in Jacksonville somewhere and she's calling trying to get someone to pick up her kid. It's an absolute mess. So I from the educator's perspective, I can appreciate someone like you who actually was intentional and made sure you were there as they were going through those certain things. So kind of talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, divorce is detrimental. I
Yeah,
don't think anyone would disagree with that.
absolutely not.
That's never the desired state for anyone. You do the best you possibly can to make it work.
Hmm.
And if it doesn't work, then you still become the best version of yourself and make that your focus, and
Hmm.
then helping your kids to navigate that. So I made sure I was present after that 3 p.m. hour to
Hmm.
go bike riding with them, to make dinner with them, to do these things that to take care of the house and make it a home no matter what. These are
Wow.
very, very important things. And it was hard because let's as an entrepreneur, business is always calling,
Yeah.
opportunities are always calling, but what you will never regret and what I will never regret is honoring my roles before my goals,
Mm.
ever. And that's fun. It's very fascinating because how that's worked is it's made me more impactful in
Mm.
coaching, in business and life coaching. It's made me more effective because I know that I hold that space for you, for my clients. I say, listen, you, no matter how many business deals you will do, you will not feel fulfilled unless you have both.
Mm.
Unless you have both. And
Wow.
there is a way to do that successfully. So I remember actually a situation with my son, my oldest son. We were in the apartment, and he actually, I think I had been on a call. I don't remember what it was,
Mm.
or I was finishing up, and he trashed the entire apartment. My oldest, he was 9. I mean, and Legos were everywhere. Okay, have you ever stepped on a Lego?
Yes, yes,
It's
that
not
is
pleasant.
not pleasant at all. No.
But and so everything, I mean, everything was turned upside down. There was furniture turned up. And then I just calmly walked up to him and I said, "Is that it? Is there anything else you'd like to overturn?"
Mm.
And I said to him, and he probably didn't expect this. He was probably expecting me to punish him. But what I said to him was, "Thank you." And
Mm.
he looked at me like, "Oh man, mom's going to lose her mind." And I said, "Thank you for showing me what's going on inside of you.
Mm.
Thank you for showing me that."
Mm.
And I said, "I want you to, and I got him a pen and paper. And I said, I'm going to set a 2-minute timer. And I want you to write anything you want on this paper. You can say all the words."
Mm.
And he looked at me like, "All the words, right? A 9-year-old." I said, "All the words, anything you want." And so he did. And of course, he wrote a whole bunch of interesting words down there, as most 9-year-olds would, because he could get away with it.
Right.
And then afterwards, he was a different child. He looked like he was lighter. And then I said, "Okay, how do you feel now? What did you notice about yourself?"
Mhm.
Right? It's like I was angry, but now I'm not. And I
Right.
said, "Okay, so you can do this exercise
Mm.
when you feel this way." And now we have to clean up the living room and the kitchen.
And he,
Still have to clean up the mess.
yeah. Well, first of all, I appreciate you so much for telling that story. I grew up very close with my mother as well. She was the one that got me into fitness. She was used to be the only one that listened to this show. And I, even as an adult, excuse me, would go to her and, what could I have done better? Could this have been better? Always giving that advice. And it's a lot of these little things that I remember growing up when I was his age that teaches you how to develop as an adult. It's going to teach him what he's looking for in a wife. He's going to teach him what he's looking for in a family, how they're trying to raise all that little thing of you holding yourself back and not wanting to absolutely cuss him out for the appointment. Because then really what good does it do? What good does it do if you go and yell at him, he tries to
Nothing.
be as strong of a personality as you have? There's no good because it's just going to be two people going at each other. You calm yourself down and you just let him get it off his chest. And I'm sure he's going to appreciate that for the rest of his life. So from the son's perspective, at least, I could thank you and all the mothers out there that are listening that should understand that whether it's a mother, whether it's a teacher, father, if you're an authority figure, young person's life, it's so important that you really let them get it out, because I've seen kids in school who are going through some horrific things and we're wondering why they're doing it. And I've made the mistake of going at them and just two people going at each other, you get nothing done. But if you really listen to them, it lightens them and they're able to move on. And when it comes to your business, and you have a book, it's called Getting Unstuck and Staying Ready and things like that, there's probably clients that you have in which you've had to go back and take on some of those lessons that you had as a parent and maybe kind of teach some of those same lessons. So I'll let you talk to that a little bit, and we'll get more into like your business and how you serve people as well.
Absolutely. Well, and as kids are always clear. They're always direct. They're always saying, this is what I'm going through in various ways, whether they're acting out, et cetera. But as adults, we are taught to keep it together no matter what, right? But the truth is, everything that we're digesting, our thoughts, words, actions, and emotions, will become a subconscious program. And eventually we will have to address those things. And so even like I gave my son the brain dump, I actually also give that to anyone. If you're a parent right now, if you need to brain dump, if you need to address a matter that's emotionally charged, and you need to observe versus absorb so that you can help someone navigate the situation effectively, then just pause with a purpose and get a pen and paper and brain dump. Just say, dear God or dear universe, and just empty your headspace out on paper so that you can come in from a place of seeking to understand, and then you'll be more effective in general. I always say this to leaders as well before they address their teams. You've got to address your own emotional headspace and your mental team before you could help someone address someone else's. It's like, when you're flying in the airplane, you got to put your oxygen mask on before you help somebody else to do the same.
Right.
So same concept. So business owners always need that space to, all right, I need to process. I need to process so that I could eventually move into profitability and productivity. And how many other P words do I know right now? Productivity, profitability, and proactivity.
Proactivity, right. You might have just made up a new word on that. Proactivity, proactive.
Whatever, I probably did. Proactive, whatever. It's good.
It's all
good. Towards the goal.
It's all
What is the goal?
We know exactly. I know exactly where you're going with it, and everyone listening knows exactly where you're going with it. Going with that as well. So, when it comes to your business, what do you see as in the future? What do you see as next? How do people, if they're listening in, get more information about working with you?
Well, you could absolutely find me at bridgetofreedomcoaching.com. That is my website. If you would like my direct link to have a conversation with me via Zoom, it's bridgethom.me. And we can help you come up with a strategy or new direction wherever you're at in business and life. And if you want to get the book, it's stuckonready.com.
Right.
And because it takes too long to get ready in this game of life, doesn't it?
Right. Now, is there another thing that you're going to be building on it? Like, do you plan on opening up your own office, or like, is it just going to be consulting work for now?
So right now, based on where my kids are at, because they're all three of them are so young, it's going to be mostly virtual.
Are they in middle school now? Is it? Or
yes, middle school and elementary still.
Oh man, so you got by the time high school comes, you're gonna be some elementary, some middle, some high.
Oh yeah.
You got
Yes.
you got a lot going on for sure.
Yeah. So I do motivational speaking live. I do
Exactly.
group sales trainings live. But the beautiful part for business and life coaching in my specific programs, people are getting results. They're feeling like they met themselves for the first time, and they're monetizing their influence in the virtual world just by meeting with me one-on-one.
Okay.
And in my group program. So it's effective, and it's effective for honoring my roles and goals as well.
Right. And it also, not only that, it speaks to what you're about too, because I've coached football as well. And there's been so many fathers who've had to leave the coaching world because it's taken too much of their time. And it's kind of hypocritical to tell these players, hey, we're there for you, but then they're not there for their own kids and all that. So it speaks to your brand. And when people nowadays, it's normal to meet people virtually, and it's become the norm to do speaking gigs virtually, but you got to really excuse me, like she said, show up as your authentic self so you feel the authenticity through a virtual screen. So that's very important as well.
100%.
Right. So
Well
the
said.
way, the way I close out all the shows, Bridget, is I want you to use your imagination a little bit. It is, I'd say, what, 2019, 2020-ish time. You have nothing. You have lost your job. You have three boys that are running around. You're looking at them and you're just like, how the fuck am I going to do this? All right. I want you to pretend that that version of Bridget has come into the Zoom room. Give her some words of encouragement, and we'll officially close.
You will do whatever it takes, and you will not let anything stop you. Keep going, keep focusing on empowering the person in front of you, and you will succeed.
Nothing more to add to that. Again, as you regular listeners know, I'm very rarely at a loss for words on this show, but it was heartfelt, it was direct, and I personally, again, felt it because of just the connection between young boys and their mothers and how important I truly believe that relationship is. So appreciate the work you're doing. Keep it up. Looking forward to staying a part of your journey, and maybe connecting and connecting at some events, and connecting and doing some things out here in West Palm Beach, and making this community very vibrant, because it's definitely a need out here. So all that being said, fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.